So for concert level mastery, how long should you practice? So for concert level mastery, let's see what Gohar Vardanyan had to say when she was on my podcast. And if you don't know her, Gohar is an amazing virtuosic classical concert guitarist that when she was on my podcast, she shared her thoughts on what she thinks is required to reach that level of mastery.
I would say, like, if you're serious about it, you most likely will need 3 to 4 hours. Maybe sometimes more if you're preparing for a competition, you know.
You're talking about to get to...
Yeah,
to
because
get
the
to
thing is, as I said, repetition is
high
necessary.
altitude.
Yeah, if you're going to be a professional at it, right?
Yeah.
There's certain repertoire you need to learn. Those pieces are really long and they're difficult. There's no way you will be able to play those pieces if you only play
There's
an
just
hour.
not enough time. Yeah.
Yeah, you also need the stamina, right? Like a concert lasts an hour and a half, right? Sometimes people say, how do you play an hour straight? I'm like, well, I can play 4 hours straight. So playing an hour is not a big deal. So if you don't have the physical ability to play your instrument at a certain volume, at a certain speed for a prolonged amount of time, you just won't be able to survive on stage when you're playing these demanding pieces. So there's this balance you have to find. And 2 hours is not going to be enough. I had a teacher tell me once that if you want to improve, like if you want to maintain what you have, you practice 2 hours. If you want to improve, it has to be at least 3 hours, like what you're doing to improve after that. And if you want to go downwards, like, you know, then it's probably, if you practice less than 2 hours to an hour, you're most likely over a long period of time start to decline. And it kind of makes sense. If I only play an hour for like a year straight, my physical abilities on the instrument will decline.
Go down. Yeah.
And if your physical abilities decline, your musicianship is going to decline too, because you're not going to be able to execute things as freely to be able to let the phrase sing, right?
Yeah.
And if I want to, and it's true, like I've noticed that like years later, this was told to me in high school, that yeah, if I want to like learn your repertoire and improve playing, I need to at least do 3 hours.
Okay. Yeah, that's your that's a number that works for you.
Yeah, three to 4. It's just after 4, I feel like I'm not actually being productive. So, but again, it depends on a person. It depends on how much catching up you have to do, right? How fast you learn, how fast you memorize. That part is going to be very, very individual.
Now, it might seem like common sense practice, but not everybody knows exactly what practice is. Practice means you're actually practicing exercises, actually focusing in on all the things that you need to have correctly, repeating things, making sure that you correct things, not just playing through things.
When people say practicing, I could sit and play for 3 hours and achieve nothing.
Right.
Like, you're just playing. Or I could sit down for an hour and actually practice what I'm doing, meaning like break the piece apart, practice a small section at a slow tempo, listen to what's coming out of my guitar. If it's something's buzzing, maybe fix it. If I'm using the wrong fingers, like actually practicing, right? So, what they do is they just play over and over and over again. They'll make the same mistake over and over again. They enjoy the process, but then they're surprised why they're not improving, or like they can't play anything more difficult. It's just because they're not actually
practicing. Yeah. That's what I was curious about. It's funny that you mentioned that.
Lack of metronome use. Yeah. No one uses the metronome. Like if I don't make them, you know, no slow practicing. They just literally play the piece whatever tempo they can. If something's messy, they attribute it to the fact that like, oh, well, I'm not a professional, so whatever. But no, like if that piece is not that hard, that's not a good excuse. You could absolutely do it well if you actually practice to do it well. Practicing is work. It's not fun. Playing is fun. So if you're having too much fun, unless like you really, really enjoy like that tedious repeating, which can be fun, unless that's what's happening, you probably are not really practicing, because it can be annoying, like you're doing the same thing 10 times in a row, 20 times in a row, slowly to a ticker. But if you trust that process, you do that for a couple of weeks, and then 3 weeks down the road, you play through the piece, it's going to sound much better than that first time.